How can Appalachia's economy rise up? We in Appalachia, we have a lot of grit, resilience. It's of necessity. Despite generations of high poverty and a tough economy, we figure out solutions to problems. We take what we have, we put it together creatively, we figure it out. It doesn't always look like a neat, clean product that you might find on the shelf of a suburban big box store, but we figure it out. So how can we tap these strengths to rebuild our economy? Answering this question is more important than ever before. The world is shifting to cleaner forms of energy, and our coal economy, which we're so proud of, continues to rapidly decline. So it's critical we figure out the answer to this question. How do we rebuild our economy? I believe I have an answer, and it's a very simple answer, but it's one of those things that's easier said than done. New businesses. We need new Appalachian businesses. We need thousands of them. And we need these new businesses to ethically employ and empower the people in our communities who are most in need of these opportunities. During college, I was a youth director at a Presbyterian church, and we would do service trips, mission trips, all over. Met some of the most inspiring people on Native American reservations, in inner city soup kitchens, worked side by side with laborers, immigrant laborers in apple orchards. Even got to travel overseas, and I was so inspired by the creativity and the resilience of people that I met. But everywhere I went, I felt in the back of my mind that I belonged back home, that I could have the biggest impact back home because that was where I belonged. Growing up here in West Virginia, I knew there was tremendous need, but I also knew there was incredible opportunity. I knew we had more to offer than what we'd been able to offer so far. Even though some had written us off as rednecks or hillbillies, I knew that we had more to offer our country and our world. The very last service trip that I led was to Williamson, West Virginia in Mingo County, deep in coal country. And we were doing traditional home repair, a wheelchair ramp, some light roof repair, some indoor light maintenance. And as we worked, these two young men approached us. And I remember this very vividly still. It was a very hot July day, so they had their shirts off. They were smoking cigarettes, but they had tool belts slung over their shoulders. And they asked if we had work available. And I explained we were volunteers, and they went on their way. And it could not have been more than a 2-minute interaction. But those 2 minutes, that minor moment, really stayed with me and gnawed at me and bothered me and haunted me and started to make me feel angry because I felt like it summed up the situation of our economy, which has become so distressed, in our communities, which have become so depressed that even when two young men have the gumption to want to work, to want to learn, there's nowhere for that gumption to be applied because of the economics that we're up against. So this moment planted a seed of conviction within me. Lots of people talk about the unemployment rate, and that's an important statistic, certainly. But the statistic that really keeps me up at night is something called the labor force participation rate. It's the percentage of working age adults who are active in the workforce. So the unemployment rate doesn't even count people who have given up entirely trying to get back in the workforce. And West Virginia has had one of the lowest labor force participation rates for decades, at barely above 50%. The top line's the national average. The bottom line is our state's average. Barely 50% of working age adults active in the workforce. What do we do about this? How can we create real opportunity for those two young men who had tool belts slung over their shoulders? A common answer is retraining. Those boys can get trained, right? Certainly on TV, if a mine is going to close or a factory is going to close, the experts say, don't worry, there's retraining programs. The reality is a lot of these programs just don't work how they're supposed to work. Appalachia's had an abundance of publicly funded job training programs, but the training doesn't matter if it doesn't lead to an actual job. And what about the communities where there just are not a lot of good paying jobs in the first place? So that's the bad news. Our economy has had a couple of tough years, followed by more tough years. I think our substance use crisis is directly linked to our economic crisis. But Good news is that in the huge economic void left by the coal industry, which has created a lot of pain, but it's also created new space for new green spurts of innovation to start spurting up. Appalachian entrepreneurs are rising up to create the jobs that we desperately need. My friend Dan started the first solar company in the southern part of West Virginia. It started out of an old ice cream truck, and now it employs more than 40 people, good paying union jobs. My friend Ben started a local agriculture company. Started it on a former mine land, a former mountaintop removal site that most people said would never be a viable part of the ecosystem again. And now more than 100 farmers participate in a statewide cooperative. My friend Claudette helped start a real estate company, and the portfolio was made up almost entirely of old, empty buildings that most people said, you're going to have to tear those buildings down, and now those buildings are places for new businesses and hubs for opportunity. I could tell you of hundreds more Appalachian entrepreneurs rising up. What's really unique about these enterprises is that they're hiring people who face significant barriers to employment. So the point of the company is to create opportunities for people who need it most, with substance use disorder, folks who have been on public assistance, or former coal miners. Many of these folks are working what we call the 33, 6, and 3 model. This is something my organization innovated, and it's designed not only to create jobs, but really to create a transformational opportunity. So 33 hours of each week, there's paid work, so it's a real job that's paid, which is crucial. 6 hours a week, our participants are in higher education, going to college, working on degrees and vocational programs. And 3 hours a week, we're doing personal development. So the main hook is the job, but really the job is just where it starts, because we try to earn people's trust to go deep and to really think about what a full life means for each of us and how we can go have it. So it's not just about getting trained for a job, it's about having a full life and finding a calling. It's about realizing our full potential, power, and purpose as people. We helped start a woodworking company in Lincoln County, West Virginia. And Megan was a local resident who was interested in working with us. But she wasn't quite sure she could trust us. We have generations of broken promises in Appalachia that make us a little skeptical sometimes. So, complicating matters further, Megan had just gotten a medical opinion that said she could go on public assistance basically for the rest of her life through a program called SSI. Now, a lot of people have real issues and need public assistance. There's no shame in that whatsoever. So that's not the point that I'm making. But Megan had skills. She had a great attitude. She was a talented young person. And I didn't want her to become yet another young West Virginian to exit the workforce and become part of that labor force participation statistic that keeps me up at night. So we asked Megan, how long's the medical opinion good for? She said 30 days. We said, all right, give us 30 days. Try 33, 6, and 3. Try it out in the wood shop for 30 days, and let's see where we're at. I will never forget day 30. Megan came into work early. She put on her PPE. She fired up the table saw. She took the letter from the doctor, put it on a piece of plywood, and ran it straight through the blade several different directions and threw it in the trash can. And she said, I'm not defined by that piece of paper, and I want to go to work. 33, 6, and 3 is my organization's contribution to Appalachia. But the truth is there's thousands of other innovators out there. I think there's an entrepreneurial movement afoot in Appalachia. Not an effort, not a trend, not a pattern, not a moment, but a true movement. It's made up largely of young people, not exclusively, but young people and many other people who believe in the potential of this place. We realize we haven't reached our full potential, but we have more to offer our country and more to offer our world. For decades, Appalachia's lagged the national average in startups, but I see this changing, and I see it changing rapidly. One ice cream truck converted to solar headquarters at a time. One former mountaintop removal site turned organic farm. One empty building turned into a new place of business. One formerly unemployed person re-employed and becoming the first person in their family to ever become a college graduate. One at a time, I see a transformation afoot. And unlike previous top-down efforts, which have at best made modest improvements, but with unintended side effects, and sometimes which have actually made poverty feel permanent, this entrepreneurial effort is happening from the bottom up. And so because of that, it's really built to last. And instead of begging outside corporations to come here with grants and loans and tax credits and giveaways, these are businesses built in, by, for, and with the community. We Appalachians know what we need to do. Now we just need the investments to scale those solutions. I never saw the two young men from Williamson. I never did see them again. But I have been totally blessed to be able to serve hundreds of others just like them. In 2010, I founded the organization Coalfield Development, which innovated this 33, 6, and 3 model. And we started very small, one construction crew of 3 in one rural county, Wayne County. But we stuck with it. And exactly 2 of the first 3 went on to complete the program and become the first in their family to earn a degree of higher education. It was one of the happiest days of my life to see them walk across the stage. I kept thinking about the 2 men in Williamson the whole time as we celebrated and clapped together. The best part about graduation night, these guys had their kids there, their toddlers there. They were playing with their caps and gowns, fiddling with the tassel on their hats. This was a generational poverty cycle reversing itself before our very eyes. In Appalachia, we love to work. We love to fix, grow, make, create. As the global economy shifts to greener forms of energy, I think we in Appalachia have the hands-on skills that are going to be needed to literally rebuild and remake our economy, to convert buildings and renovate them to become more energy efficient, to install the solar systems, to grow the food locally, to manufacture new products made out of recycled content. I see these skills at work every single day, rebuilding the Appalachian economy from the ground up, and I invite the rest of the world to do the same. Thank you.